Welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
And we're back. Now, I want to start the show by apologizing.
Aw.
This is what, the second show of the year?
Yeah.
And it's March the 15th as we record this.
It's out of vogue to say of the year.
Oh.
Because we're like a quarter of it is gone.
Well, of this current calendar
Right, but
year.
I think our grace period for like, first of the year, like I think that grace period ends in like February. So we're just late.
Well, I'm just saying of this calendar year, this is
Right.
only the second one that we've recorded. So it is absolutely not intentional. We have not decided not to record. It just like we just haven't.
We've been busy.
We've been busy and we've been like distracted and thinking, about new things and different things and things. And so not at all intentional. So we will try to do better. I think we'll probably do better moving forward. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe we're terrible at this. Who knows? But we're back now.
Well, I've got 16 bags of this Lego set left, so we got to get to getting.
I have still been buying Lego sets that we haven't done. So
Really?
I'm a little backed up on, sets. So
That's
got
a
some
good
some
problem to have. What'd you
backlog.
get?
I got the blacksmith shop.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The new idea set?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It was back ordered, so I had to wait a little bit. Ordered it, and I haven't even opened the cardboard box that it came in, so I haven't even seen it yet. But we still have the the Ford GT model that I'm working on, the Slave 1 model. So we have a lot of stuff. Maybe we can try to make this a priority. Anyway, so we're back. Let's do a little catch up. This year, what's new this year with you?
So what did we talk about last? The Mandalorian?
I have no idea.
Anthony, our resident historian. Is that our last episode when we were talking to Matt?
No. There's been one since then.
Yeah, all these titles you see on the screen are ideas from the last episode.
Oh, we talked about WandaVision.
Yeah.
And that guy who cut in front of me to buy a puppy eating spaghetti.
I don't even remember that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Right. It's all kind of starting to come back to me.
Yeah, I don't even know what we talked about. But it doesn't matter. So they don't remember either because it's been so
Well, do you
long
want to
since
start
we
back
recorded.
from now? Because I don't remember what happened
Let's
before.
go like a week back. What's new?
We did a project at my house,
Yes.
which we just finished.
As of today.
Yep. We built guitars together.
That was fun.
And
Is that something you're going to continue to do, or have you now that I know since we recorded the video, you've done like another body for your bass and
Yeah.
a bunch of changes. Is it now like at a point where you're like, cool, got it,
yep.
ready to move on to something else?
Yep.
Or is it something you're going to come back to again?
I may come back to it if challenged again. So what Bob is referring to, we built guitars together in a series of 2 videos. He built a semi-hollow body guitar, which is sitting right here next to me and still looks amazing. I built a bass guitar from scratch. This is the second one because I built a kit a while ago. People may have seen it on Instagram. And then I built the entire thing, soup to nuts, in a video. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I made some stripes down the center. They were offset. Like, those are nitpicky things. Like, the feel of it was kind of wrong. I really liked the body design when it was in Fusion. I was trying to make it look like a Rickenbacker bass. And it kind of did, but then it kind of didn't. It was really bulky. So, while I was very proud of myself, and it absolutely scratched the itch from taking something and expanding my ability to model stuff, because I didn't think I could, ultimately I still wasn't very happy with it. I wanted to make my Excalibur. Like you talked about, you pick up that hollow body guitar right there, and you're really happy with it. It's the one you go to play. Mm-hmm. That was not the one I went to play. It was a homework assignment. So the weekend after we wrapped on that video, I took it all apart and made another one. So this is my third bass. This one's Excalibur. I love it. It's walnut with a maple back and maple stripes that are centered this time. I took the neck off of my kit. I took the electronics off of the video one, so I just kind of smushed together all the ones I had in existence.
Frankenbass.
Yes. And I am very happy with it. I
Good.
played in the band at church yesterday. So I've played now 6 sets because we do a bunch of services and then we practice a bunch of times. So I've played 6 sets with it, and I absolutely love it. I think I might need to shim the neck just a little bit more because the action on the one that we did in the video was almost perfect. So I have to maybe shim the neck a little bit more. It's lighter. It is great. It looks great. It gives me more confidence now whenever I play, and I can play with not authority, but the instrument that I have in my hand is everything I want it to be. I'm more confident in its ability to sound good. It has different electronics on the inside, so I played with confidence that I didn't really have before. Because anytime in the church or in the studio that there was any kind of audio problem, I defaulted to, oh man, maybe my bass is the problem because I hacked it together and don't really know what I'm doing, so maybe I'm causing all these issues. Yeah. To where now, the third one, I know what I did. I learned from the other ones, and it is great. And I got a lot of compliments on it, so that was another little confidence boost. Yeah. So as making another one, I wouldn't make another one for myself. If someone locally were to need a guitar and happen to like, I don't know, that style and were to fit the bill for it, I would do it because I've never made a guitar. I made a bass, never made a guitar. So like therein lies a challenge. Yeah. Right. But I was challenged. I think I rose to the challenge in a couple different ways, and now I am satisfied with my result. So, in my mind, I'm done.
Cool.
For now.
Good. Yeah, for now. Until I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it goes. I think it would be hard for me to put in that amount of work for someone else.
Well, it's not easy because I can't do all of the work to do an entire thing at my house. I have a CNC, I have an X-Carve, and if people ever watched my channel whenever I was making videos, I actually went to your house in Georgia from my house in Georgia and cut down my X-Carve because I had to put it in the back of the RV before we started traveling around the country. So my X-Carve, while the standard size is like a 3 foot by 3 foot, mine's like a 26 by a 24 because it had to fit in this awkward spot. So I can't cut a full fretboard and I can't cut a full neck. So to do that, I have to come over here and use the big CNC. And so that's like labor intensive. It's loud. It's on top of all the other stuff we're doing. So it's not as simple as just like remaking a body because I can do that in my shop. And I did it with more of a combination of how you made yours in the video. Mine wasn't fully on the CNC. Like I carved a little bit and then I did the rest with hand tools, which actually went a whole lot faster. Yeah. So to do it again, like it's cumbersome to do the entire thing again. While satisfying, still kind of involved. Ow.
And I think, like, for me, you know, one of the thoughts was after we were done, like, maybe I'll come back one of these days and make a neck. Maybe that'll be an interesting next step. But honestly, I don't think I want to. Like, other than having, like, a uniquely shaped headstock for this particular guitar, I know yours was different because it was a 5-string, but I can't think of any reason why I would want to make a neck because nothing would be different about it other than the shape of the headstock. I would just be remaking the thing that's already pretty well established and I'm used to and fits and, you know, all that stuff.
I told myself if I were going to make a straight up another one, I would just buy a neck because it's like you're saying exactly right. It is not unique enough to put forth all of that work to get something that is kind of as good as something that I can get for not a lot of money. I reached out to a company because they don't sell necks, but I reached out to them anyway. I'm like, yo, you sell an entire kit. You don't publish that you sell necks. Can I buy a neck? They're like, yeah, sure. It was like $100. I'm like, ugh. But I'm glad I found that out after the fact. So in the video, I can make the whole thing because that was my goal. I accomplished it. Yeah. But the end result was not as perfect as I hoped it to be because it was my first go at it. So I had to give myself some grace. Yeah. So I immediately turned around and made it what I wanted.
I also did find throughout the process that you can buy, at least for guitars, I'm sure there's bass versions as well, you can buy a neck that has an uncut headstock, so that you could do the shape however you want.
Crimson Guitars sells those quite a bit.
Cool.
But then with Crimson Guitars asked to do the guitar build off, and you said maybe next year. Are you still excited about doing that, or is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. I think the reason I didn't want to do it this year was that from my understanding, those are to be auctioned off. All the ones that are, maybe that's not true. Maybe I just assumed that. But I think
that's what they did last time.
I think they're to be auctioned off, and while that's an absolutely good thing to do, like I'm on board with that, I didn't really want to make my first guitar and then give it to somebody. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. And like I didn't really know what I was doing, and also if it turned out really good, I wasn't going to want to just like give it away. I want that for myself. Doing a second one, I would be a lot more confident in that I could pull it off. And I could think less about my own particular interest in guitars and shapes and stuff like that, and do something that would be maybe a little more unique or more, I don't know, more general, more basic. I have no idea. I've never really thought that far into it, but
yeah.
So maybe in the future, but not now. I was over at your house today, and this is kind of a funny way to get to this, but I was walking through your front yard to your door, and there were some giant poops there from your dog.
Sorry. Oh.
No. It's not
the dog.
From the dog,
They're
yes.
from the dog.
But it got me thinking about, like, I didn't see your dog the whole time we were there, but you've had a dog now for a significant amount of time from being a puppy. She's a lot bigger now.
She's quite big.
How has that been, the process of getting a puppy and now having, like, a dog?
I super love having a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're boxer people, so we have our boxer. Her name is Lena. She just finished obedience class. She went through 8 or 9 or 10 or however long many weeks. So she's...
Help a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
She's far more disciplined than our first boxer because we didn't train him. Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
So just the I guess, day-to-day life of having a puppy that is more disciplined is more enjoyable. Like, she can go out into our yard and just not run away. It's crazy. We have, like, the invisible kind of, like, force field electric fence, and we put her little collar on, and we have little flags, and then eventually you take away half of the flags, and then eventually you take away all of the flags. So she's at, like, the half of the flag stage, and when her Frisbee thing that she super digs, like, goes over the thing, she just stands there and stares at it, and then she sits down. And my other boxer we would open that door, he would have knocked me over and ran down the street, never to be found again. So just the experience, I mean, I loved our first dog. It was the first thing my wife and I did when we got married is we got a dog. But just the process is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
She's super fun. She's a puppy still, so she's crazy and chews up stuff, which is frustrating. But all in all, like, she's really cuddly. She's got a big floppy face. I love that dog.
Yeah, good.
Has Jenny talked you into getting a dog yet?
I mean, she's trying all the time. The other day she was like, oh, there's a 6-month-old Great Dane that's going to be ready in just a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, man. Don't tell me that. That would be really cool. But I'm still... Every time I get to that point where I'm like, yeah, I think it's about time to have a dog, then I spend about 15 minutes thinking through what is daily life with a dog again. Because it's been a while. So I'm like, what is that again? Oh, yeah, there's a lot of poop.
Yep.
There's a lot of chewing. There's a lot of being beholden to schedule, making sure you get home in time to let the dog out. And then I'm thinking about, like, oh, soccer's about to start again when we have, 3 games every Saturday. And then we have practice 4 nights a week. Plus my daughter has gymnastics 2 nights a week. And then we have, and I'm like, oh, when would we do that? So, although I would love to actually have a dog, the process of having a dog and the daily stuff that would go into it, like, I think eventually we will. But right now, I don't know, like, we had 2 labs, and we had one of them for 15 years?
Wow.
14 years? Something like that. I don't remember exactly. We got them in our second year of marriage, and our 19th anniversary is coming up pretty soon. And so we had that commitment for a really long time of, like, what do you do with the dogs when you're traveling? What do you do when you want to go to the beach for the day? Like, do you have to come home and let the dog out? Do you have to get somebody to come over and take care of him? We had all of that stuff. And then not having it for the past couple of years has been more relaxing than I expected it to be,
Yep. Oh,
like
yeah.
the freedom, like, we can just be gone for a day. Not a big deal. Like, the cats are fine. And even if we're gone for a weekend, we could just have somebody come over. And our cats are awesome. Like, before we got our cats, I was like, no more cats. Tired of cats. Both of our cats are jerks. I don't want any more cats. these are our old cats who are now dead. But
Good riddance to you, jerk
but
cat.
then we found these 3 cats that are all super sweet, and like one of them fell asleep in my lap the other day while I was just sitting at the table, and I tried to get up and was afraid he was going to run away, but he just kept sleeping in my arms, so I carried him around for 30 minutes. Like, they're awesome. So, and they're easy, and they're, you know, so it's a little hard for me to think about going from that to, you know, the thing that's always like tearing stuff up and running around and needs to be taken out 100 times and stuff. We'll get there, but not yet.
I think our kids being at, they're a little older than when we had a beagle for a little while, and my kids were still really, really young, and it was overwhelming with the amount of like immature creatures all in the house. But now I'm like, the dog needs to go out. I'm like, hey, go let the dog out. And they can do that. I'm like, oh, the dog needs to be fed. Or I can delineate tasks and they know how to do it. And they're more mature to be able to care for the animal. So it's not solely on, you know, my shoulders or my wife's shoulders to feed and care for this creature. My kids can do it too now.
Yeah.
And they love her too.
That helps.
Yeah, she is definitely our family pet, and it's been really fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So what have you... I know what you've been up to. Anthony knows what you've been up to. I've hinted on the internet that people... I think you talk about in Making It what you've been up to. What's been going on over here?
We completely ripped out our kitchen.
Because you're just mad?
I was just tired of it. Had enough of this rude kitchen. It's gone. No, we just... you know, since we moved in about 4 years ago, we've always wanted to redo the kitchen. And we didn't really have a great reason to finally do it. I've just been itching to do it, and then we got a sponsorship that we could kind of connect to it, and we're like, that's it. We're just going to do it. And so we tore everything out. It took about 2.5 weeks, a little over 2.5 weeks to rip it out, move the things that needed to be moved, electrical stuff, walls, all that, and then rebuild it back to a blank slate. So we got new drywall on the ceiling and the walls where it needed to be fixed. We've got new electrical, new switches, everything got moved, new hardwood floors.
So this is more than the like bathroom makeover. You're not just like putting down tile and like painting a wall. This is big time.
This is down to pretty much nothing. Which has been, you know, the work itself has been, it's work. It's a lot of manual labor, a lot of 12-hour days for a couple of weeks in a row, a lot of back pain. Because it's funny that a couple of years difference between renovations makes a pretty significant difference in how you feel about those days.
What do you mean?
Like, we did the bathroom, which was a full, you know, gut to the studs and everything, and then
The master bathroom?
yeah, that was a significant thing. That was what, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, that was when we met Anthony.
Yeah, and
Anniversary.
that was that was tiring. That was a lot of work, but this is a whole different thing. I'm 43, feeling it at the end of the day. It's like the first time in my life I've gotten to the end of the days and thought, you know, I'm going to bed now. I should take some Advil as a way to prepare for tomorrow morning.
Yeah?
And I did, and it helped. But man, it's been a tiring couple of weeks, but super rewarding. It looks completely different. It was untouched from 1983. Wallpaper on the walls, linoleum on the floors, and it was my grandparents' kitchen. So, you know, we spent tons of time there. Lots of memories of being at the kids' table for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Where was the kids' table in it?
So where our main table, our kitchen table that we eat at, off to the side, there was kind of an open space in the corner. Like with the corner
in the dining
cabinet.
room or in the
No,
kitchen
in
space?
the kitchen space.
Yeah,
like right there where there's a corner cabinet. There's this little open area, and there was always a card table right there. And that was the kids' table annex. So the kids' table was our current kitchen table. That's where like my brother and sister and the older cousins were, and then me and my cousin Courtney were the two younger, and then my cousin Lee were the youngest. And we always got booted to the kids table. Anyway, so it was a little weird. We actually invited all of our family that if anybody was interested to come kind of have a meal in the kitchen before
That's
we
super
changed
nice.
it because it was everybody had memories there,
I didn't even think about that. That's a really nice sentiment.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. My parents came over and we had dinner. I mean, they come over on a weekly basis or so anyway. But then my brother and his family dropped by while we were working on it. And it's interesting to see people who have a history there who know the room just come in and be like, "Whoa, wow, this is your house now." Like it's not painting, it's not taking up carpet. It's like the walls are gone. It's totally different. So. It's been really gratifying work, though, because now you walk in there and it is a clean, blank, new, the hardwood floors, I think, are beautiful. It's beautiful flooring, and it's what we have everywhere else in the house. If you've seen other videos, you've seen the flooring. But to have a nice big open space, to have a wall removed that lets light through that room into our living room is a total game changer with what our house looks like. And so it's been well worth it. The thing that, and I expected there to be a lot of work, physical work to it. The thing that I hadn't really considered, we had considered it, but I hadn't considered the gravity of it, is what do you do with a pretty good sized kitchen's worth of kitchen stuff when you can't put it in the kitchen? And so, and a dining room, which is like a kind of formal dining room connected to it. We had to clear both of those things out before we could gut it, before we could do whatever. And like I said, we're 3 weeks in. As of today, we're 3 weeks into the process. And we have no stove. We have no dishwasher. We have no kitchen sink.
Yeah, I saw the kitchen sink out by the trash can today.
Yep. And we're still cooking and still kind of dealing with like how you feed a family of 6. And then we had another family of 6 stay with us this past weekend.
Yeah.
And we're still cooking. So we're cooking in a little air fryer, which is funny. It's like an oversized toaster oven.
I'm really surprised what Jenny can do with that thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
She made 2 batches of egg and sausage casserole the other day that are like, little pans like this. Put one in, and when it was done, swapped it out for the other one. So the kids got to eat the first one, and then the adults picked up the other one. It was super good. She's been perfecting her chocolate chip cookie in an air fryer, which is really interesting. So
my wife felt bad for you whenever you guys came over to our house for the cookout that time, because she wanted to get cookies because she knew that it was probably difficult without an oven for you to get your nightly chocolate chip cookie fix.
Yeah. So anybody that doesn't know, I don't know if we've talked about this. My wife has always made chocolate chip cookies from scratch, simple recipe, and it's just a thing that we always have here. And my kids rarely have them because it's a thing that when the kids go to bed, my wife and I sit down and have a couple of cookies, and they're always hot. They're always fresh. And so it's just a little ritual that we have, and so it's weird to not have a full-size oven. But we've made it work. We're surviving. Marriage is intact. We still have the cookies. But the challenge of physically moving all the stuff from those rooms into other rooms and being able to get to it, and a ton of it is in the garage boxed up. But being able to, like break your kitchen down to the bare essentials. Instead of 30 forks, we have 12 forks. Stuff like that I'm actually going like, yeah, we could totally do this fine. Like we could get rid of a lot of not get rid of unique things, but like redundant things. Whereas you're used to like, it's okay if we have this many spoons dirty because we have another this many here. Like
There's 2 people that drink coffee. That's about 26 coffee mugs that we need?
Yeah. Apparently,
sure.
Because there are 2 separate boxes in the garage right now of coffee mugs, plus the coffee mugs that we're actually using. So maybe we don't need that many. But I've said that before, even when we weren't renovating a kitchen.
Well, when we moved into the RV, it was that same thing. Like the reasons that my wife wanted to do it was she looked around and was just constantly cleaning and taking care of things. And in that just constant upkeep, and she had just had our 3rd kid. It was just, why do we have all of this stuff? Why does this stuff demand my attention? Yeah. Just because we have it? Like, that's not reason enough. Like, well, why do we have this many coffee mugs? Or how many plates do we actually need? Like, let's say that everyone in our family, which has never happened, comes over to our house and wants to eat a formal 3-course meal at any one time. We have enough silverware and enough, plates and extra stuff to accommodate. Like, that is an insane amount of infrastructure to have for a small family.
Yeah.
And when we finally like got rid of a lot of it, we moved everything into an RV, and it's like living out of like the linen closet and the bathroom cabinets that you have. Like that's how much space you have.
Yeah.
And you learn to make it work. You become resourceful, just like Jenny's doing right now.
Yeah.
And so it's really great. And now that we're gonna build up and maximize the amount of storage in there, how do you think you're going to be able to combat the like? Oh, well, now we have more room for coffee mugs.
We're gonna have less, and that's partially by design. So we should be forced to
Less
get rid of some stuff.
Cabinets or less stuff?
Less storage for stuff. So as we're putting things back, the hope is, let's put in the essentials first, the daily dishes, and let's put those in, and then whatever doesn't fit in that allotted space, that's the stuff you get rid of.
It's got to make the cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it gives us an opportunity to just like have to be faced with how many coffee mugs we have, rather than them being in a cabinet and like you just pull the few that you need and the rest of them are up there and they're fine. We have to take them out of boxes and put them in something. And so then we're faced with moving individually, wow, this is like number 20. Like maybe
Gotta have the tribunal.
Stop. Yeah. So
My
I think
Father's Day mug from 1998. Why do you get to
it's
stay?
Like, we have several that we just still have. Like some bank in Savannah that we got when we created an account 20 years ago. Like I don't know why we have it. We don't need it. Nobody uses it. It's just still there, But because they were stacked in the back of the cabinet, we never had a reason to necessarily go through them. We weren't hurting for space, so we didn't have to go through. Now we're going to be forced to be aware of them as we move them back, and so we can hopefully get rid of a whole lot of stuff. So we'll see. But I think also just having the opportunity to be super intentional about why is there a cabinet in this place, and this is what we're currently doing. We're looking at like even this afternoon we were looking at there's this much cabinetry in between the sink and the stove. What's the most efficient thing to put there? Is it stuff you would use for the sink? Is it stuff that you would use to cook with? Is it a trash can? Because you would use a trash can in both of those things. Stuff like that. So we have the opportunity to not just go like, these are the cabinets we have, so we'll just use them. It's like, why is there a cabinet here? What can we do with it? And I think there's overall less cabinetry than we had before. But we had a walk-in pantry before. We don't have anymore. We got rid of that. So there's less, but I think there's going to be more than enough, and there's still plenty of opportunity for us to kind of make the most of it and use it in the way that will work best for us. So I'm excited about that part. I'm also ready to have a kitchen again.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
But it's fine, like we're making it work, and I think I'm ready more than anything just to keep moving on the project, but we're at a point where the room is now back up, and now we have to start the cabinets, and that's going to be kind of a slow process. All of our appliances aren't going to be here for a month-ish or something like that, so there's not a huge... We still have a fridge, so they're still working with that, but so it's good. It's good. I'm ready to keep moving on it, though, for sure. That's the big thing for me. That's what's been going on. And one of our sons went back to school today for the first time all year long, and only one of our kids went. And that's been an interesting kind of emotional thing to figure out. The rest of our kids have been perfectly fine. They had the opportunity to go back 4 days a week or stay virtual. The other 3 kids are all doing super well. All 4 of them are doing academically super well virtually. 3 of them enjoy the self-direction and the I can get it done as quickly as I can get it done and still get all A's. I'm like, right on. I'm just going to leave that one alone. You can do that as long as it works. But one of our kids, he just needed more, I don't know, group dynamic, I think, is what it was. I think it's just easy for him to get distracted from his work when he didn't have somebody else to kind of do it next to or to kind of keep him moving along. And that was turning into behavioral, like you just get frustrated, and then you get irritated, and then we get irritated, and they would amp up, and then you get distracted from his work more. And it was just we haven't felt, well, the kids have not felt the emotional drain of the pandemic as much as I expected they would, except for him. He's felt it. And so this is one of those opportunities where we're like, well, this might help him. It might help us, even though it does introduce a little bit of risk into our house. My parents have had the vaccine, so that was one of our big concerns. And so now that that's safe-ish, then we're opening up a little bit to opportunity and still just trying to be as safe as we can. And they've put in a bunch of protocols at the school, so we're going to see how it goes. We can always change it back to virtual if we need to, but that's a pretty significant shift for us because just we've not done any in-person schooling all year. So, and I know that's the case with a lot of people. A lot of people we know were itching to get back to school, itching, whether it's the parents itching to get rid of the kids and throughout the day, or the kids itching to get back to the classroom setting. Our family's been like, yeah, we're good. Everything is pretty well, except for his distractions.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's the most homeschool parent decision that you can make. That you have the freedom to be able to address each kid's personality,
right,
their goals, how they achieve those goals. And we ran into the same thing like we talked about here about my oldest son. Like, yeah, we pride ourselves on being a homeschool family, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not about planting a flag and being so steadfast to it just because you want to identify with a certain group or anti-identify with a public-facing group. Yeah. It's about doing what's best for your kids.
Yeah, right.
And so good for him. I mean, this is his first day. How did he feel?
I don't know. I haven't seen him yet since he got home. So I'll be really interested to see. We have a friend that works at the school, and she sent us a message this morning and saying that she ran into him in the hallway and helped him find his new classroom. Because, they don't know. They've never even been to their classrooms. It's so weird. But apparently he was happy and excited and,
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
And good for you guys. I know it's been a really tough decision.
Yeah, it has. I think some of the freedom, it happened really quickly. So, the school board was like, all right, in 3 days, we need to know whether your kids are coming back to school. We're like, whoa, wait. We need more details here. What is happening? So it felt kind of forced, like we had to make a choice. And then there was this weird thing about how, this is the last chance of the year to choose whether you're going to be in school or virtual. We're like, well, because there's been kind of a stepped up, incremental bringing kids back. And because it seemed like there was a finality to it, and it was all of a sudden, we were just kind of like, whoa, we haven't really dealt with this. We haven't figured out what we want to do. And so that was kind of a weird pressure. It turned out that they had said that in the wrong way, and they were happy to deal with whatever changes you need to make for the betterment of the student. So that was cool. But it was all of a sudden, and that made it a little difficult. And
did it feel like an ultimatum?
It did, which was weird.
That's stressful enough.
Yeah, and that was weird. But then, we were looking at him and regardless, it might be the best thing for him. And then we had to weigh the thing of, well, if we're going to send one to school, do we just send them all? Because then we have kids at two different places. And you have to deal with the scheduling of that and whatever. But when we talked to each of them individually, the other ones were like, no, I'm fine either way, but I would rather stay here and finish this year on my own terms because I'm in the flow. I get my stuff done at noon instead of... And if their grades were at all suffering, I would be like, no, I think it would be better if you were in school. But, my two that are in middle school are getting straight A's in middle school. I can't tell you no. I can't say no.
It's working.
You could be getting 105 if you were at school, that kind of thing. So,
well, you talk about your parents getting vaccinated, and it's been over a year since I've got to see your parents. I saw them, I think, one time they were at the top of the driveway, and I waved to your mom.
Yeah.
And I really missed your parents.
Yeah, they're awesome.
We had I smoked some ribs the other day, and everybody kind of in our little bubble came over, and it was the first time I got to see your mom and your dad. And they came over early, because they gave some presents to the kids, and the kids lost their mind that they got to see your mom. And awesome. Your mom just hugged me. I was like, I have missed a hug from your mom for a year, and it was really nice.
It was really cool. I mean, when the numbers were really bad and stuff, we didn't see them at all in the beginning. We didn't see them at all for a while, and then eventually it got to a point where my mom was just like, I just want to see my family. So they would come over and sit in the driveway in their car, and we would sit in our screened-in porch, and we would kind of talk at a distance. And then later on, as things changed, and they would come sit in our gazebo, and we would sit across a big table from them. So we've like incrementally gotten to spend a little more time with them. And then when the Mandalorian started back, it was like, well, we did this last year. And I guess before that, we had started seeing them a little bit more for dinners and stuff like that. But then they started coming over every week again, and us having that time with them, which is great. I'm super glad to have that. But I remember the first time in that reintroduction process when my mom was just like, I need a hug. And she walked in and just like grabbed each one of the kids and hugged them. And we were like, oh, wow. Like, this is finally shifting back towards something that everybody needs. You know? It's not everything's right. Not everything's going to be normal. But, like, that's more important than the risk at this point. In our particular situation, the risk that's presented
in our little bubble. And I know that people ask us in comments, like, why are those two sitting so close together? Like, the entire year, especially our three families, we have went out of our way to try to maintain our little bubble. And people who listen to the podcast know that bubble got popped. And we took procedures once that happened. And then we went back to mitigating all those things. So I've been extremely, like, comforted by our caution. Mm-hmm. And while, I miss your mom. Your mom is awesome, and I miss hanging out with your dad. Like, I completely understand, and I'm not going to get upset with them. I'm not going to fault them because it's prudent and it's uncomfortable, but it's not going to last forever if we do it right.
Right.
And that has always been my ongoing kind of comfort this entire time. Is if we do this right, it's not going to last forever. It can be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm glad to start to see that there is hope. And I think the hope on the horizon, whether it's the vaccine, whether it's numbers going down, whatever it happens to be. Like, we're going on vacation next month. That vacation last year that got canceled because there was a dip in the numbers. So we thought we were making a smart plan by going to an island that had barely any cases, and then all the cases shot back up again. So we had to cancel everything.
Yeah.
And so now, like, we either have to take the trip or that we're going to lose all the money. So we're taking the trip.
Do you want to talk about that? Like, what the plan is, what you're going to do?
Yeah, we are going to fly from where we live in Kentucky. We found the shortest and the most direct flight to down to Florida. Our kids are going to stay with my wife's dad and stepmom, and then we're flying down to St. Thomas, and we're going to take that trip that we tried to take last year. And I've very much been looking forward to that vacation before it was even booked. And so that I was in a dark spot. And that's not just because, like, oh, woe is me, I won't get to go to the Caribbean. But I miss my wife. I love my kid's mother, but I miss my wife.
Right.
And having a vacation just
Better hope those two never meet.
That was good. Actually, Anthony, you have a sound effect. You have a rim shot sound effect.
We can't hear it. But it just got put in the recording.
I pushed the wrong button, so it's not saying gibberish.
Meow! Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yes.
But I'm very much looking forward to that. I've tried. We both have tried to find time to spend together, just the two of us, because, I mean, not only are we homeschool family, all our other ancillary stuff has been canceled, but that's coming kind of back. So we just kind of got back into a low-key kind of rhythm. Still very safe when we go out places, but my kids are around all the time, and they're at the house all the time. So trying to schedule date nights when, like, our babysitter doesn't want to come over, and we had another one for a little while, but, like, trying to find time just the two of us has been increasingly challenging.
Yeah.
So time to schedule, like, a trip, just the two of us, was a really welcome solution last year. And so now that it's coming back up again, I am cautiously optimistic that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're going to be going down to Florida, and we have, like, an extra day because plane tickets didn't line up, and I kind of want to go to Galaxy's Edge.
You absolutely should.
But like
If it's-
I'm still cautious about that. And so my YouTube algorithm has been completely screwed up because now they think I want to go to Disney every day just because I looked up one video about Galaxy's Edge in 2021 and how they're doing it. How is it safe? Are we feeling comfortable? We're a year into it. I don't want to think I'm being lazy and giving up, but I mean, we still want to be cautious because I don't want to bring stuff back and I don't want to have to go through this nonsense again.
Yeah.
But I can see hope on the horizon, and it's not like the darkest before the dawn, but like we've been watching Lord of the Rings, and not that our whole situation has been terrible, but I've been feel like we've been, as a society, battling this situation, and like I'm gonna be looking to the east on the third day when Gandalf pokes over that corner, and the Rohirrim come diving down the hill and crash through all the orcs and help free Helm's Deep. Like that's gonna happen soon, I think. So I'm actually at one of the Veteran Affairs hospitals in Lexington. They were giving out COVID vaccines to any veteran, regardless of age. There was no age cap. And I considered driving out there to go get one, but like something kind of felt bad that I didn't want to be taking it away from someone else. And then I was reading somewhere that like, don't do that. If you have the availability to get it, then get it because they're sitting there going to waste. And I guess they have a shelf life.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's a weird thing. If given the opportunity, I will get the COVID vaccine.
I think if we were in the very beginning of it, where the vaccine was just rolling out, I think that would be a valid, like, I don't want to get it because somebody else needs it more. But I think now we're at a point where if you can, you should. And I'm saying that as an encouragement. Like, I think that would be perfectly acceptable, for you to...
I was talking to my kids about it, and they're like, oh, I don't want to get a shot. I'm like, guys, I don't want you to have to get a shot either, but I want life to go back to the way it was. And like they're in like the least like susceptible group, so it's not like a super high priority. And honestly, it isn't that super high priority for me either. But I want to be an example to people where I can. Like if I support the science. I've done my research on this particular vaccine in particular because I was very nervous about like, oh, it's been rushed and it's been whatever. Like, and I don't think rushed is the right word. I think it has, because of the collaboration worldwide, it has been accelerated for the better. And people can feel the way they want to about it, and that's fine. But I mean, I'm a grown up, and I can do what I want to with my body, and I want to get me some of that vaccine because I want everybody to get the vaccine if they are comfortable doing so, so that collectively we can have some fireworks display to go, we beat it, everybody. Don't be giving people butterfly kisses and all, and wash your hands after you go to the bathroom and you sneeze in your hand. But like, we can be done.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen. I like to think in my head that's going to happen. I know we talked about this right before we recorded about people not being able to hear the kids stomping.
I guarantee you heard that.
They're doing jumping jacks upstairs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm looking for hope, and I feel hope now more than I have at just about any other juncture during this entire thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel the same way. Like, we're not quite there, but at least I think things are moving in a really positive direction. At least I hope. We were talking about this. I don't know if I was talking about this with you the other day or not, but like, what are things that you think will not survive after things normalize socially?
People drinking from other people's cups, which I don't think very many people did to begin with, but I think if that was a thing that you have done in the past, I think now you go, ew, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
I really hope, like, having kids, and if like you go to church or go to school or whatever, like sometimes when your kids are sick and you're like, well, you got a runny nose or whatever, but you don't have a fever, so you can just kind of go to the thing. And there's the kid over there that's kind of like snotty and boogery and gross. Put a mask on that kid. If you're not feeling very well,
Right.
I would hope, I know I came from a big company, so I know this is probably not practical, but like, if your people are sick or telling you that they're sick, send them home.
Yeah.
That should be normalized. Like, you should not put sick people around non-sick people. And if you are feeling kind of gross, throw a mask on, because it's not like, oh man, why does that person have a mask? Are they a cancer patient? Like, no, that person is just sick and they're doing it for you.
Yeah, they're being responsible in like the simplest way possible. So
Yeah. So that's one thing I hope persists is just, I know not everywhere has even cared about other people, but I think especially when you are feeling kind of gross or feeling kind of sick, I think maybe a little bit of public shame, if that's what it takes for you to like stay home or to cover up your orifices for the greater good of other people. I really hope that persists.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think neckties are going to die.
What does that got to do with anything?
It does.
What does a necktie have to do with anything?
It is the
Like a formal necktie? Just
Yes.
like you tie your tie?
Yes.
And you look fancy?
I think they are on their way out.
Okay.
It is downstream from the idea that a lot of the things that we have done in business have to be done in business, because I don't think they do. And I think you're going to see a lot of companies realize that they don't have to have the cost of a building if they can have people work from home. That's not going to be for every company, obviously, but I think they're going to be going forward. The idea of working fully remote is going to be way more common than it was before.
Yeah.
And I think the visual interaction between people has now become so weird. Both like we communicate over video chat way more than we used to. People are growing beards and long hair, and they look different, and they're in their pajamas and they're whatever when they're at work. And work still happens. Companies are still thriving. New businesses are still starting. And so all the people that think that you have to be wearing a sport coat all the time, or the people that think that if you don't have a tie on, you don't look businessy enough, that stuff, that's just a holdover from, my dad and I were talking about it. That's what it was. That stuff is a holdover from a previous generation when it came from a different place. Those pieces. And so those pieces now are not relevant anymore, and we've proven that business can happen without them. And so I think neckties are going to be one of the things that, it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's an extra thing. It gets in the way. There's no reason for it. It doesn't prove that you're businessy or that you're whatever. And it's just a cumbersome leftover from a previous generation that I think will go away. I think handshakes are probably in that same camp. To a point. I mean, you're never going to not have handshakes. But whereas, like, I would go up and at any of the, the big events that we go to or whatever, I would shake literally 1,000 hands.
Yep.
That is not happening. One way or another. And I'm not saying I'm not going to shake somebody's hand if they want to shake my hand when this is all gone. But, like, there's no reason for me to mush physically in any way with a person that I don't know and then do it again with another person that I don't know. Like, that's me transferring from person to person, any sort of germ. And I think that's going to change. Like, there's going to be a lot more fist bumps. There's going to be a lot more, like, waving and just general personal space, I think. So maybe the handshake is a result of there being a little bit bigger bubble around individuals.
Man, coming from the military world, like, people in movies think, like, everybody just salutes everybody all the time. Like, in every kind of interaction, you just randomly salute, which is not really the case. But the thought of, like, that little bit of holdover from me, like, shaking someone's hand, there's a lot going on when you shake somebody's hand.
Right.
Like, a lot behind the scenes and a lot of internal stuff. And whether or not that stuff is all that important, it's really difficult to get rid of.
Well, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be gone. What I think it's going to mean something different. I think it's going to mean more. I would shake.
Oh, like a Paul Hollywood handshake, like on British Bacon Show?
I don't know what that is.
You have to earn it.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I would think so. Like, rather than me going to an event and shaking the hand of 1,000 people who walk through a line because they want to say hi.
They would win a raffle.
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh.
Those people would get, like, a wave or a fist bump or a smile or a conversation because I don't know them. They don't really know me. Like, that bubble, that barrier, I think becomes more like reminiscent of how close you are with somebody. I would shake your hand in the middle of a pandemic because I know you. I know where your hand's been. You know what I mean? I have respect for you as a person. Not that I don't respect strangers, but I don't know them.
There's a level of, I guess it has become a level of formality.
Right, when it should be familiarity.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's where that will go.
And I think, again, as a holdover from the military, like, there's so much that you can size up on a first interaction with a handshake.
Yep.
And it's so weird that, like, I shook somebody's hand not too recently, and it was one person, and I don't remember who that person was, but I remember feeling okay about it. And that's going to bug me. I don't remember the context or where I was, but I remember going, whoa, that's the first time I shook somebody's hand.
It was at Anthony's house. His brother-in-law. Because I did too. And I was like, I don't know you, but I'm going to shake your hand. Only because you are connected to someone that I know and respect.
But then...
Otherwise, if I was at Lowe's or whatever and some person walked in, hey, Bob, what's going on? I'm like, hands in pockets. Like, hey, how you doing? You know,
I think a wave automatically, like, disassociates your hand. Because, I mean, intuitively for me, like, if I'm meeting a person, you're putting your hand out. And then that kind of makes somebody feel like they have to reciprocate their hand going out. But, like, putting your hand up and doing, like, a little Forrest Gump wave and then putting it away.
We should, every time you see somebody you know or don't know, kind of know at the store, you should just put your hands straight up so that they can't get to them. And you're like, hey,
good day, sir.
Good to see you. And just hold them there.
Just do big bat wings, like you're doing sit-ups, but like you just wave your elbows in and out.
Ow, that hurt.
Yeah, like if there was a guy I was playing music with at church on Sunday who is active duty military, and he's a cool guy. And I remember he showed up, and I remember thinking, like when I introduced myself, I wanted to shake his hand, and then I stopped. And then they do the thing like, oh, elbow bump. I'm like, I don't like elbow bumping. I think it's dumb. Right. I would like to throw my suggestion into the ring for a fist bump, but like with the side of your wrist, like that. Like if you're gonna, I don't know, hammer a nail with the side of your hand, like a hammer fist on a table. Like if you're Dwight Schrute making a speech. Like doing that, but like somebody like gavel to gavel, pop, like
somebody I saw was doing like karate chops like that, where you would kind of do like karate chops against each other.
I guess that's still some form of fighting, so that would be acceptable.
You should just punch somebody in the face as a say hi,
and then just sanitize their face immediately after with your other hand.
Sorry about
spray
that.
Alcohol in their
Sorry
eyes.
to get germs on your face.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I think I think more than anything, physical interaction will be a sign of familiarity or respect, or like, you know, if you were I'm happily married, if you were going to meet somebody's parent, somebody's father for the first time that you never met, you're still going to shake their hand because you want respect, right? You want to engage with that person. But that's different than going to a store and introducing yourself to a random stranger and then reaching out your hand, which is what I would have done a year ago.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder if that is regional. I don't know, like as a Southerner, if I were to meet another person that I don't know, specifically
All right.
a man, I freaked out there for a second. I would, because it was a cultural norm to reach out and shake their hand. And then if they were older than me, they would try to crush the bones in my hand. Right. And then as a younger person, I would try to resist and crush the bones in their hand. And then we would have a level like, oh, okay, that's what's up. And then if I tried to shake your hand and they grabbed like the front of your fingers, you're like, we cannot be friends because you don't know how to do that right. Yeah. And so there's so much that you can subconsciously gauge with a handshake. And I wonder if that is generational and if that will fade away.
Maybe. I mean, I agree that's what they have always been, but I wonder if that's something that will persist.
I wonder what will replace it, like a small questionnaire.
Like,
who would win in a fight, Macho Man Randy Savage or Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
have like a staring contest when you first meet somebody? That's touchless.
I wonder if it was like, who can stomp the ground with their foot the loudest?
Like clapping contest.
He's like, ready, go, and then you're just like, ugh, and you stomp the floor. Or like beat your chest like an ape. That's only touching yourself.
That's true.
And you're like, ooh, okay.
Wow, that's
some
good chest thumping there, buddy. I read you.
All right, let's go to Arby's now.
Yes.
We can go fishing. You have sufficiently made me back down.
How long have we been talking?
55 minutes.
55 minutes.
You can do a quick pros and cons. I asked on our Discord server right before we hopped on. I should have asked on Twitter, but it was kind of short notice.
Do we have it?
We have a few.
I got my hurt.
All right.
I can't remember last time I went to Arby's. Maybe that's because I didn't try to dominate a male stranger.
Don't ever say that again. Please.
All right, pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
Call up our friend Matt and just like beat my chest, and then we can go to Arby's together. Now we can commence the curly fry section of this interaction.
All right, first pro and con option from Brian H.
Brian H.
Co-workers named Anthony.
Oh, terrible. Con.
They're
Hard
loud.
con.
They
In case
drop a
anybody
lot of
didn't hear
stuff.
the beginning of that, it was coworkers named Anthony. Con.
I'm heavily pro. If I could give my input on that one.
You don't have any. I don't know if you can hear him in the microphone.
I think that if we hired another person, we have to hire another Anthony, just to make it confusing for those two people, and that would just be really funny for us.
That's true. That would be funny.
Yeah. Okay. Pro.
Moving on.
You,
Okay,
you
so we
changed. No, you totally
we have
changed
an
my
open
concept.
hiring position for anybody named Anthony, regardless of your skill set.
I have the power.
Or gender.
I have the power to turn off this podcast. I also
right.
have a microphone now.
All right.
Okay. From Andrew Howard.
Hey,
Desktop ink printers.
Desktop ink printers. I,
So 2D printers.
within the last year, got a wireless printer for the first time. It is the bee's knees, let me tell you.
This has been out for a significant
I
amount
know,
of
but I
time.
just never had one.
Oh, okay.
And my wife has now become the director of our homeschool community, and so she has to print out a lot more stuff. And she, like, ink is the bane of her existence now. And my kids want to color pictures all the time. So her predecessor was like, oh, because she's going to be running this business. She's like, you need to get your own printer with, like, bulk ink. And when I heard buying bulk ink, like, I got really low-key excited for some reason about, like, ooh, bulk ink.
I dropped a part of the ship. Oh, no!
Oh, boy.
It's gone forever. Oh, wait. Got it. I'm good.
Yeah, so not only desktop wireless inkjet printers are fancy and dope. I like them. But the idea that I could buy printer ink in bulk, my mind went to some, like, milk jug, which I don't think is the case.
You just gotta, like, pour it in the top of your printer?
Like an IV, like hanging up in the wall. That'd be great.
That's definitely not how that works.
That's how Shaq does it. Shaq is he's like the spokesman for larger ink cartridges.
Really?
Yeah. When I go to Staples, there's a massive cutout of Shaq holding an ink cartridge.
If you're a giant like me,
Yeah.
all you need... Well, I mean, I guess they're fine. They're still necessary on occasion. I've had to print out something today for my taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I
Yeah,
don't use it
tax
any more
time.
than I actually have to, but I do have to use them on occasion.
I like it because I have the same one that you have, and whenever you send something, it goes wicket wicket. I like that sound.
All right, what's next?
Justin gave the suggestion of Power Rangers. Have we talked about the Power Rangers before?
I know that we've talked about Power Rangers before.
I was just out of the Power Rangers demographic, which means I'm sure that you have had to been because you're 7 years older than me.
Yeah. I was...
We talked about Power Rangers before, I think, because I brought up the Dynaman.
Maybe. I don't know if that was on here or not. But yeah, I watched the beginning of Power Rangers, but I think when it was on, I was at the age where I was like, I mean, this is kind of stupid, but, you know, it's like a show. It was that attitude. And then after, I don't know, like Power Rangers Jungle Dino Force Ninjas, I was like, come on, this is like, I don't know. So it was never my thing. I never ever had any of the toys. I think I was a little bit too old to be interested in that part of it. I just watched it because it was one of the shows that was on after the other stuff that I watched.
Yeah, you get off the bus, you air quotes do your homework when you're supposed to not be watching TV.
Yeah.
And then Power Rangers will come and you're like,
Yeah, it's TV.
I mean, it's morphin' time
For
again.
somebody
I guess.
that, yeah, it is morphin' time. Look at the for somebody that didn't have cable growing up, like any show like that came on after school, it was like, well, it's something.
Yeah.
So I'll watch that. So
I think when they introduced the White Ranger, I remember I was paying attention when that happened. Like the Green Ranger was bad, and then he became good, and the White Ranger. I thought that storyline was kind of cool, but that was like the one part of it. I didn't really know much else. And then yeah, like you're saying, whenever they went off to be like the mega, like robot animal, zip zap librarian rangers or whatever, it became too much.
Librarian
lost
Ninja
it.
Force.
Yeah. But Dynamen, when I was a kid, was like this. I don't know if it had been Japanese precursor that was set to the like an '80s soundtrack, and it had a lot of Huey Lewis. And
Really?
yeah, we talked about this. I don't know. We had a VHS tape. I don't know where we got it, but I would watch it all the time.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that part of it.
And Billy Idol, it's White Wedding, and some Huey Lewis in the news. So like, imagine watching Power Rangers, and they're like flipping and jumping, and things are exploding, and like big like guy in a robot suit.
Back in time.
Yeah, but White Wedding and Huey Lewis.
Did you ever watch the Toys That Made Us about Power Rangers? Mm-hmm. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Because it was like how it got to be, and that was way more interesting than the actual show and toys and stuff. But I didn't know the majority of that, so that was kind of a cool history lesson on the stuff. Maybe that's just because it was about toys for me, but it was more interesting, more interested than I had ever been in Power Rangers was watching that. So, yeah.
We got one more?
Yeah, we have one
We'll
more.
do one more.
Harbor Freight.
Pro
Yeah,
4.
I heard they're cutting back on their coupon deals.
I haven't used a coupon in a while. now I
Harbor
think about
Freight to me is like Taco Bell.
it. Okay.
It's not great, but sometimes you just need something from Taco Bell.
It just hits the spot.
Right. Like, and if that's all you eat, you're going to have severe digestive problems and weight problems and other problems and problems. But on occasion, like, yeah, man, like it serves a purpose. It does a thing.
Well, I mean, I'll give a practical example of Harbor Freight saving the day. Like, oh yeah, they've got new tools that are on par with DeWalt tools. Like, hooray! That's not why I go to Harbor Freight. Like, they had the perfect niche, and they're trying to do more. And hooray for you guys! But I'm not going to buy that stuff. I had to replace my bumper on the Jeep because the Jeep has gotten rear-ended several times. And this last time I got insurance money, and they were only going to like buff and paint. But I looked online at like, we paint your auto parts before we ship them to you.org or some kind of thing that sounded like it was fake. But I paid them $500.
We're a real reps.
Yeah. And they had like this thing that here's your part for your specific car. Look on your door frame, you get your color code, and then they just painted it to your specific color code and shipped it to you in a box. And without Harbor Freight, that process would have been terrible. I needed the like plastic prying off of like interior panels.
Yeah.
I needed one of those kits. It was like $7. I needed a plastic rivet gun for plastic rivets. Mm-hmm. That was like $15. That whole process of swapping out my entire bumper that was all bashed up and I was brand new took me 40 minutes because of a trip to Harbor Freight.
And not only would those items have been more expensive at one of the other big box stores, they may not have had them.
Exactly.
I've never seen a plastic rivet gun at Lowe's or Home Depot.
They had not only a case of plastic rivets, but they had the gun itself. And it solves the problem without me having to invest in more expensive, like higher quality body shop style tools when I'm going to do that one time.
Yeah.
Like the investment for what I get at Harbor Freight is comparable and equitable. I know what I'm getting, and I am willing to pay that much for what I'm getting. So I think Harbor Freight has found their niche. I think them trying to expand out into fancier lines of tools, like, sure, if that financially works for you, great. I know why I'm there.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to Salvation Army, like you don't expect to find a couture bag at Salvation Army. You're going there for like old video games and Lionel Richie LPs. Like that's there's a reciprocity to the interaction that we have. And so I am pro Harbor Freight for that purpose.
Yeah. I agree. It has its place. I wouldn't buy a lot of the things there, but I also wouldn't buy a lot of the things that are there anywhere else.
Oh, well said.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend the money on a blast cabinet somewhere else because I'm going to use it once or twice.
If I need neodymium magnets, I'm going to Harbor Freight.
Yeah, they're the same magnets, so you're going to get anywhere else. So yeah,
for dirt cheap, and they're in stock.
True. All right, cool. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. Yes. We will try to do better about having shows on a regular basis. I think we're probably settled back into like a little bit more reasonable schedule. We'll see. If you have some pros and cons, and you're part of the Maker Alliance, then leave them in the Discord. And if you're not part of the Maker Alliance, then you should go join that. It is the super cool, I'm not blowing sunshine, legitimately cool group of people here. That,
It really is.
support what we do and are a big part of the behind-the-scenes kind of crew here. So big thanks to them. And if you want to join that, go to iliketomakestuff.com/join. It was on the screen a second. Oh, there it is again. And big thanks to them. Anything else we need to?
I would like to personally thank Mr. Andrew Howard.
Yes.
He restores old Game Boys and old game systems. He sent Anthony and I a Game Boy with a bunch of dope games, and it's fantastic. My wife had her old Game Boy that was all broken, and when his came in, I took hers out and I fixed it, and it made my wife smile. And just the happiest. It was so nice to see her smile like that in a like giddy kind of like this is silly way.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I found Dr. Mario yesterday, so my kids love playing Dr. Mario on the Game Boy.
Well, I will be happy to destroy them in Dr. Mario anytime you want. You just let me know.
Which I also found, the Game Boy, as big and clunky as it is perfect for your hands. Your phones, how like your pinkies have to go in to support your phone, and it kind of like feels weird in your hands sometimes. A Game Boy, as fat and awkward as it is the perfect ergonomic solution to playing a handheld device.
I don't have much experience with a Game Boy.
It's great.
It was never a thing that I had growing up, so.
My mom had one, and then we were allowed to play it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Oh, there it goes.